Reverend Dr. Frederick G. Sampson and the Tabernacle Missionary Baptist Church family, friends, fellow Africans. I know that the term fellow Africans may stun some of you today, particularly now that you are celebrating the 32nd Founders Day luncheon. But I said African very wisely because one time this institution and all of the other black institutions, and I hope that you forgive me for the term black because many of us have passed that stage. But nevertheless, I said black because I think that if Jesus was here celebrating, you would actually have to say the same thing. Unless we do not know where Jesus came from. I was reading a book and I wanted to know what should I tell these people when I come, and I noticed that the vast majority of the people here are women. And I noticed that the pastor must be very busy because everybody here is Mrs. Somebody. I was trying to figure which one I'm going to take home, but I can't take home any. But then it says, don't mess with the sheep until you check with the shepherd. Watch. I came to celebrate with you your second 32nd celebration. I came to celebrate with you even the first celebration. The first celebration of a person who later at Calvary became the deity of your religion. I came to celebrate because when I was looking in the book today, there was a song that came by my mind and it shocked me. It says, "Make me whiter than snow, Lord." I wonder how could that be, looking as I do. And then I looked in the picture, I said, I want some pictures to show the people what I mean. And so I got all the picture Bibles, and I couldn't find one looking like me. Not even an angel. And I said, well, wait, no, I better speak to my people about a little few things. It seems it says somewhere in the book he had hair like lamb's wool. Well, I know you don't know who I'm talking about. That's why you're here. And then I read the book again, and it said his mother brought him into Africa. Of course, your book don't say Africa. It says Egypt, but the last time I saw Egypt, it was still in Africa. Because Herod was about to kill him. And then I said, let me go back further and deal with this thing that you're here to celebrate. And then I came to the point where it says the 10 Commandments by an African named Moses. His religion being Jewish. And somebody said to me, what do you mean an African named Moses? There was only one Moses, the black Moses, Isaac Hayes. And I said, I am speaking about the only kind of Moses mentioned in the book of Exodus, an African born in the city of Goshen, on the Nile. And so I said, it's easy for me. I'm coming, actually, to a homecoming celebration. Now, I'm not going to mess with theology. I'm not going to mess with that. Got a man here does that very well. And like they says, when you go to court the daughter, don't mess with the mama. And in looking in this, what I'm going to celebrate, I think of some names. Absalom Jones, as he bolted the white church and went in and discovered and founded his own black church, the Black Episcopal Church. I thought of Richard Allen as he bolted the white church and found his own African Methodist Episcopal Church. And then I started to think, well, where does the Baptist come in? And I remember the name Palmer, when Palmer said, yes, there are black churches, but they do not speak to the little fellow no more than the white church. So I will start the Black Baptist Church so I can speak to everyone. This was the time when the black church was a revolutionary church, was a church that housed such names as Henry Highland Garnet, Nat Turner Denmark Vesey, Sojourner Truth, and others. Even David Walker, who had made the master appeal, along with Frederick Douglass and so many others. The names of these men and women stand significantly on my mouth as I speak to you this afternoon, because they too remembered that it was not slavery that brought Christianity to you.
All right.
You brought Christianity to Europe.
Yes.
Paul did not create Christianity. Paul was trying to explain an African Asian religion to the Romans. And he could only explain it in terms which the Romans knew. Slavery was nothing that brought Christianity to you. The church started in Egypt with Pantheus and Boetius. Ethiopia had a Christian religion and a Christian church 150 years before Rome knew what Christianity was. Those are your people I'm talking about.
Yes.
I am speaking about a religion that came out of the bowels of Central Africa. Because when we look at the Book of the Dead, the pyramid texts and the coffin texts and the Osirian drama, the 147 negative confessions that set the foundation for the 10 Commandments. When I look at Akhenaten, otherwise called Amenhotep IV, and his teaching of monotheism before another African named Moses was born, I could only rejoice in your second 32nd birthday today.
Well,
to think of the fact that you, the people, where the Bible says, and the third river, this is Genesis, mind you, and the third river flows through the land of Ethiopia, and that river is Haliva.
all right.
And then you say, when you look in the mirror, you don't like what you see.
Watch it. Watch it.
This is a history. Your homecoming today, your celebration today, reaches out much farther than what it may seem. Certainly, when we speak of the Nile Valley, we must think and remember that it was there that the infant Jesus was held, was given haven. Just think back for one moment that Jimmy Carter, that's the present president, I understood, sent the United States Army, the Air Force and the Navy to look for a little blonde, blue-eyed boy among you. And they searched every family, every little boy, and didn't find that blonde, blue-eyed boy. It must mean one thing. That boy was not blonde and blue-eyed in the first place. Oh, he was a chameleon and turned black.
All right.
I'm talking about Jesus.
All right.
Probably you may never have heard of him mentioned in this way, because it would seem to me that you have not heard of the Aquarian Gospel, or you might not have heard of those books that were removed at the Nicene Conference, the Nicene Conference that was held in 325 AD, when Rome changed Christianity to Christendom. Quite a difference.
All right.
One has to remember, as I look around and see these beautiful women, I remember three basically precious black women like yourselves. Those who were the first to die in the name of Jesus. Three African women from a place called Carthage, now called Morocco. Felicita, Nymphano, and Perpetua. The first to die in the name of Jesus the Christ. Look what I said, the Christ. The Romans had not yet stopped saying the anointed. We used to say Jesus the Christ, Joshua Christus. And the Romans changed that. They couldn't understand what we were doing at all. They couldn't understand any more so that they told us that they give us philosophy, that the Greeks give us philosophy, when in fact there wasn't a single Greek in history until 833 when Homer wrote the Iliad and the Odyssey.
All right.
And Homer said that even the god Apollo and the god Zeus came from Ethiopia.
All right.
In other words, the Europeans were saying that those of us who now are like the invisible man were the ones who even brought them the concept of a god. They say that African people, that we do not have philosophy. All we have is the blues. No, beat the blues now. It's very good. Sing it sometime. But they forgot that from the first so-called Greek philosopher Thales to the last of the Greek philosophers, Socrates, and the center one, the most noted of them, Socrates, came to Africa, to your ancestors and mine, to learn philosophy, only to go back to become the father of it. It's no different than Benny Goodman goes to Duke Ellington to learn to play jazz and become the king of jazz.
All right.
Let us not forget it was your ancestors. When there were 7 bishops of North Africa and 7 patriarchs, there wasn't one in Rome yet. The other day you read that the Pope of the Roman Catholic Church from Poland was going from Rome to Poland to look at the picture of the black Madonna and Child.
All right.
Here she is, the black Madonna and Child. Here she is over there. Here she is over there. The Pope was going to look at the statue of the black Madonna and Child. He was going to look at a black Mary and a black child named Jesus. Isn't it strange that when you sing in church, you don't lay back and sing, close your eyes, and see yourself? Rather strange, isn't it?
Well.
But then to speak like this, you say, well, we don't want to hear that. I can't say it because we are in a church setting, but you know, they say a nigger ain't.
Well.
Let's leave it like that. And why would we say that? We say it because this part of our history we do not know. Thus, the people who gave to the world Christianity is now being told that it's only slavery why they got Christianity. The Bible did not say, and Rome shall stretch forth her hand unto God. It said, and Ethiopia shall stretch forth her hand unto God. Huh? We are celebrating the 32nd birthday. Let's celebrate it all the way. Let's go to the Grand Lodge of Luxor, where your ancestors and mine started the concept of religion, of the deity. When they started to conceive that man could not be here solely by himself, automatically, just drop out of space, that man must have had some sort of a physical as well as a spiritual beginning. And it's along the Nile that your ancestors decided, and from there at the Grand Lodge of Luxor, in what was then called the mystery system, they developed in the priesthood the 7 liberal arts. It was in religion that man developed science, not in science man developed religion.
All right.
Thus, there should be no conflict between religion and evolution if one knows what one is speaking about. There is no conflict when I say there's an evolutionary process that goes on when the mother received the little seedling from the father. There's a tremendous amount of evolutionary processes go on in that stage before the child comes out. But that doesn't mean that the child doesn't come out with a spirit.
All right.
A soul, that inner self that we call that. I couldn't point you out the soul no more than you can, but you can feel it, you can understand it. Thus it is that when we talk about I love you with all my heart, we as African people know that the heart cannot love. It is only a piece of muscle that pumps the blood, but we are saying it symbolically.
All right.
Because in the Book of the Dead and the pyramid text and the coffin text, we show a picture of the heart being weighed against the feather of truth, which the United States government, the Supreme Court symbol, adopted, but still told us we got no history.
All right. All right.
Not only did they adopt that from us, but on the dollar bill.
Yes.
Right on the green side of your dollar bill, there is your history. Not Alex Haley's roots. It's not a thing. Everybody has got my roots in slavery. I'm talking way before anybody knew me well, much less to enslave me. On that dollar bill, you see the symbol of the God concept symbolized by the sun, and the pyramid, the house of fire, and the ever-seeing eye.
All right.
And in other places, that symbol which you use for Jesus in memory of Calvary originally started out as the Ankh, A-N-K-H, the key of life. Isn't it strange, or is it strange, that at Calvary Jesus would be placed on the same symbol, but you seem only to think of the death. But Jesus didn't preach the death. Jesus said after this death there is a life, a resurrection, and a life, which the African people had brought up traditionally. The scholarship of Jesus was not to be questioned.
All right.
His years at the Grand Lodge of Luxor from age 12 to age 30 was not to be questioned, because it was a scholarship undeniable.
All right.
As his ancient teachers also called priests. For it was as a boy went into the synagogue or to the center of worship, the Grand Lodge of Luxor, at age 7, and he did not leave until 47. Then he was considered a priest. He had gotten the concept of the sunnum bonum, the law of the greatest good. So that when the Greeks are talking, and anyone in your university, and I laugh when I hear my professor speaking about the Greeks giving us the concept of the law of the greatest good, and we don't have the Greeks in history until 833. This was written on the Grand Lodge of Luxor, 5100 BC.
All right.
No less so than when we talk about dates, we could not come here this afternoon. You wouldn't know what to come were it not for a calendar. The calendar that your ancestors gave to the world in 10,000 BC, which they then called the stellar calendar. That calendar not being accurate enough, your ancestors then revised it and created what was called the solar calendar, with 365 and a quarter day corrected each 7th year. And it was another African from Ethiopia who found it necessary to change the calendar for Justinian from 365 and a quarter day to 365 days, corrected each 4th year. Yet, these are the people we are told, for those of us who have studied medicine, know very well that in the university you are told that Hippocrates was the father of medicine, yet Hippocrates wasn't born until 333 BC. And when we see Hippocrates for the first time, he is in Africa, in Egypt and Nubia, studying medicine.
That's right.
Which is the father of learning the works of Imhotep, the first known multi-genius in human history, thousands of years before Michelangelo. Imhotep, who was the Grand Vizier, the Prime Minister, the physician, the man who designed the first step pyramid, the man who gave us the term, eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die. This was the man. The Greeks knew the greatness of this physician, that they call him the god Asclepius. And now, we the descendants of this African, we are called ignorant. Shockley said that we are a little brighter than an ape. Poor Shockley. But then as we examine the records much farther and we start to think of the Christianity that you're here celebrating, modern Christianity came from 3 Africans. The first one was Tertullian. The second one was Cyprian, the bishop of Carthage. And the third and most noted was Augustine, otherwise called Saint Augustine. It is Augustine's book on Christian doctrines upon which modern Christianity rests. The moral concept of Christianity was laid down by Augustine in 2 works, on Christian doctrine and the holy city of God, after Augustine had already written his book, The Confession.
All right.
He's here, right here. If I'm going wrong, he can tell you. Yes, my brothers and my sisters, you are not here as Christians looking in, or people looking in on Christianity, trying to be Christians.
Well,
you started the religion.
All right.
You have no apology to pay to anyone.
All right.
And anyone that tells you Christianity is a white man's religion, tell him, poor fellow,
Right.
you really do not know what you talk about.
All right.
You will have to go and remember that even the first monastery on the island of Philly on the Nile
All right.
were by Africans. And let me talk to you, my sisters, because I remember the time when we worshiped our sisters, our mothers, our women. And now I understood women don't want to be women no more, they're persons.
Yeah. Well.
I always thought they were persons. But these days, the way things are going. But it was, remember these words, Holy Mary, Mother of God, blessed are the fruit of thy womb. It was Mary's womb.
All right.
Where the infant Jesus came from.
All right.
And Jesus couldn't come from an unholy place.
Well, watch.
It had to be very holy. I don't want to preach because, Rev, I don't want, you know me, I'm holy. Yeah. Let us understand what we're reading. Let us read it a little bit slower. Let us take that Bible and read it word for word. Let us read Genesis and see where it's talking about. Genesis is not in Europe. Exodus isn't taking place in Europe. It is taking place between Asia and Africa.
All right.
Last week, you were there singing on Good Friday, remembering what you had sung on Holy Saturday. And on Sunday, you rejoice. He has arisen. But they're just mere words if you don't have the meaning behind it. Is it when what you said, Jesus died at Calvary? Is it, well, a lot of people die at Calvary. The 2 other fellows were hang up right there. You didn't rejoice them. Well, how come? It must be something about Jesus that you were rejoicing that you didn't rejoice with the other 2. Is it because he was a bad man? Is it because you just feel like rejoicing? Or you like blood? You shed some blood, so you're rejoicing. If somebody beats you up and they die, you don't rejoice that. Meaning the affirmative. You're glad they're dead. But the reason you're rejoicing is because of the life Jesus had lived.
All right.
If Jesus had run around beating up people, you wouldn't have been rejoicing. You wouldn't have been here today. Or at least not for this. But it is the fundamental laws that were established, a set of values which we pay no attention today. It were values that when I got up, if we were in the old country, before I opened my mouth to say one word, I would have said, who is the oldest person in here? And that person would have stood up. And then I would have asked, who was the youngest? And someone would have held up a little baby. But I didn't ask it today because the oldest wasn't going to stand up.
All right.
Because nobody's old anymore. The honor of age in the ancient culture that your ancestors brought about There's no more honor of age, because now we are hearing about 17-year-old boys raping 82-year-old mothers.
Yes.
And you ask the question, it is because you no longer feel, you no longer want to sing the spiritual. You said it's passé, but you could sing Beethoven, Bach,
All right.
Kant, and all of them.
All right.
You can strain yourself trying to sing them, but you can't sing when I'm dead. I want to dance all over God's heaven.
Yeah.
You can't sing it, cause them was them old things, man. I ain't sing them things like that at all. But those were the old things that kept us together.
All right.
They were the old things that came down from a tradition which gave Europe, the same Europe that captured us, the same Europe that forced us into slavery. Let us not forget that it was the Roman Catholic Bishop Martin V in 1506 who commissioned Bishop Bartholomew de las Casas on the island of Hispaniola, now called Haiti and Santo Domingo, to place us in slavery. Not because we were not intelligent, place us in slavery after we had gone into Spain, Iberia. We had placed into Spain even the bath, the common bath, bathing your skin. And then we introduced the underwear. But more than that, we had given to Europe, Europe's first university, the University of Salamanca in Spain. We have been in Iberia for 774 years, from 711 to 1485. Even the name Admiral had come from us, from the word admirante, because when we went in, those who had carried our brothers across the water, his name was Admir.
All right.
And thus the Spaniard, in memory of him, used the word admirante, from which the English word admiral got its origins. But when we read and talk about the Three Musketeers, we forget that Alexander Dumas,
All right.
his grandson, was the one who wrote the Three Musketeers. We forget that as much as we forget within our own environment. Many of us have never remembered the name Paul Robeson, Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, and some of us even forget Martin Luther King already, because we don't need them anymore. They've done their purpose, it would seem. And that's why we constantly go back over the same mistake, because we don't remember. Not only that, we don't honor them when they're alive.
All right.
And then we cry when they're gone.
All right.
You should know, look how much you cry for Jesus. But if Jesus should come back, how much would you cry? Suppose he says, here I am. Deal with me.
All right.
It's going to be a problem.
All right.
Because they said, many who say, yes, Father, may say, where is this guy going? But then we have to understand it. It's part of it is the dictum in which we deal with it. Part of it is in the grammar in which it is in the book. Let us deal, for example, with the proverb, and let us deal with the book of Solomon, the Songs of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 1 to 8. Makeda, otherwise called the Queen of Sheba, is in Palestine. She's said to be the most beautiful woman in the world. But let us look at the book, let us look at the translation that is used, and see how they even inserted their racism in there. She says, ye daughters of Kedar, look not upon me because I'm black. No, there's no way in the world that the most beautiful woman in the world,
Well,
her bodyguard is bigger than Solomon's army. Bad sister. Look like these sisters in here. Bad, real bad. And she going up there with her bad self. Oh yeah, professors, I'm still one of the brothers, I'm PhD don't stop me from being a brother now. Many of you forget that, when you get them PhD and things move from the neighborhood and all that kind of stuff,
Well,
and don't want to come back and see us and so forth. And you tell him, Mama, you split in your infinities.
Yeah. All right.
And Mama said, I'll split you.
Yeah.
No. I see. I got to look at it. We have to look at it when we come here today. We've got to look at it in the context of the great people that we are. Yes, we are great. We are the chosen people.
All right. Well,
You doubt me? Say, I am the chosen people. Just say it.
I am chosen.
You're chosen. Just say it and feel it and mean it. And you're chosen. What we have not yet learned is that the positive image of oneself becomes oneself.
Yes. All right.
And we did not know the positive image because we did not know these facts. These are the things that we must know. We do not have to feel sorry. We don't have to be afraid to go up to the altar. We do not have to be afraid to call the name Jesus because, as I said, there's one thing Jesus can say. They hid me when Herod was trying to find me. If there's nothing else besides saying soul brother and soul sister. But then you see, probably that's a different Jesus I'm talking about. I'm talking about the Jesus whose mother knew what your mother know. And I'm always thinking on that black woman whom we seem to ignore in these days.
Well,
I can think of a black mother in a specific case where this black mother had an altercation with her son. It seems as this the young man had seen a very beautiful sister, and you know these sisters get old. But anyhow, and the sister said, look man, if you want me, you gotta come across big, because I got about 2,000 guys hitting on my door, and you ain't much. Now why should I leave those fellows to mess with you? And he says, well, I want you. They just fooling around, but I deeply need you. I think I can't live without you. And she said, well, I tell you what, it's like this. You got a chance, providing that you cut your mother's heart out and bring it to me. And the fellow said, man, I can't do that. I can't. That's asking me to kill my mother. She says, well, you want me, don't you? And the sister was looking real mean, real good, you know what I mean? Looked like mean Geraldine. And so the brother says, God, I just got to have that girl. And he says, well, I guess if I sharpen the knife real sharp, Mama wouldn't feel it too bad. And Mama's done live a long life already. I'm entitled to live anyhow. So she went up to the girl, and the girl said, well, look, I'm making it a little easier for you. If you go down to the precinct, can you imagine it's a black brother, go down to the white precinct, and you go down to the precinct and beat up the sergeant of police. Probably I'll marry you. And so the brother went down, beat up the sergeant of police, beat up the lieutenant of the police, and the next day you saw him, he was bandaged everywhere. But he couldn't get to see the girl, and the girl forgot about it. And 10 weeks later, he's back there, bandaged up all over. He said to her, oh, I want to still love you. And she said, what happened to you? He says, look, I went to beat up the police. I did. She said, but I don't want you looking like this. You still got to cut your mother's heart out. So the brother went, got the knives, said, I got to have the girl, I'm sorry. And so he went into the house tiptoeing with a nice knife sharpened everywhere. And his mother said, Johnny, that's you? And he said, how she knows that's me? How you know it's me? She says, I could feel your toe, boy. I know you. I had you before everybody else had you. I know you. I know you in the dark. I know you any place. I know your footstep.
Yes.
I know your voice. I know you when you even scared and I'm not near you. I know you when you were going to cry and I was in the next door. I know you when you wet your pants and you didn't cry.
Well,
because I changed it. The boy says, she just jiving. And so the young man creeped in when his mother lied down on her back, and he plunged the knife in her chest and cut out the heart. It was late at night. And he ran out the door. And when he ran out the door, he stumbled being the evening, he couldn't see too well. He was feeling for the heart, and he couldn't find it, and suddenly, squish, he found the heart and squeezed it, and the heart cried out, Son, did you hurt yourself?
All right. All right.
And I think about, when I look at these sisters here, mothers, it reminds me of Mary when she went to the innkeeper. There was no room. When she wanted some food, there was no food. And then I think of when Mother's Day is coming and we black brothers are going to wear all kinds of roses.
Well,
White, red, technicolor. And how many mothers really see us? Even know where we are. But that day we're going to show all kinds of different things. And then you have to understand the culture from whence we came, that it is that culture, whether we're talking about the University of Jochannan from the ancient empire of Ghana, or whether we're talking about the University of Sankore in the ancient empire of Mali, both founded by us as we performed the first successful surgery to remove the cataract in the human eyes. No. Today I come to you. Suppose I was not a Christian. Suppose I was not a Jew. Suppose I was not Muslim. And I came into you today and said, my brothers and my sisters, I am without food.
well,
Would you have said to me, have a plate? Jesus would have.
well,
Because they told me some woman went up at the well. He said she was bad news. She'd been, distributing a few little things around the place. And somebody came up and said, hey, JC. And you see what a woman doing? Well, of course, you want to hear, rather thou thine. No, that's Shakespeare. That's Shakespeare. Wasn't wrong when Jesus was around. So we're talking the language we understand. I said, JC, man, look. This woman, selling a few little things down the street. That's where you fellas stoning her. The one of you that ain't got no bad character.
well,
No, throw the next stone. That's what they told me. And this is why again, the basic philosophy of your ancestors coming in the teachings of Jesus. Jesus is speaking to a people from a culture which he knew, which he grew up in, which he was born in. An African, Asian culture.
all right.
It is on Mount Sinai in Africa. Otherwise Mount Horeb and the Sinai Peninsula that the God found it necessary in 1196 BC to call Moshe, otherwise called Moses, after having his fight with Ramesses II, the son of Setai I. And there he said, here, Moses, these 10. It isn't 10 commandments in your Bible. There are 147. Read them. Those are the 10 most important ones. Go read them. 147. But the 10 most important ones coming out of that depth of the negative confession. In closing down, as I look at you, next year, I don't have to be the speaker, but if you don't invite me, I'm going to be very mad with you. I heard a lot of you do some mean singing, and if there's one thing sisters could do, man, they could sing. You know, here today. And then some others I ain't here, but I've been slipping one day, and here I understood I got to come real early. But since Reverend and I are good friends now, I ain't given back room there, brother, and we could come out together. You know how it is. I mean, you save a space for me, Take care of me. You know how it is. Now, my brother here has been doing pretty good, too. It's been a real pleasure to talk to you. But it's been a greater pleasure to have fellowship with you.
All right.
To come from Ethiopia, East Africa, to meet with my brothers and sisters. to understand that no more can they tell you or me that we have nothing in common.
Well,
No more can they tell you and me we don't have a relationship. We've been here too long and I've been there too long. No more can they tell us the Tarzan and Jane story and the little black Sambo story.
all right, all right,
No more can they tell us they have to send missionaries to the savages in Africa.
all right.
Because, you see, we've peeped their whole card.
All right.
And we got deuces flying wide.
All right.
I am very honored to have had the privilege this afternoon to say these few words to you, my brothers, sisters, my family of Tabernacle Baptist Church. Thank you.
Man.
We can do better. We can do better. Everybody, we can do better.
That we as the body and part of Christ, we never leave any building where we have gathered together in like mind and one awareness with Christ without having a benediction. We know that we stay here until the word from heaven comes to dismiss us. So we're going to ask the messenger from heaven to have reflections and offer the message that comes from God, our own pastor, Dr. Frederick George Sampson.
You have just heard more history
Amen.
than you've ever read in any university. A lot of people are not aware that I was appointed on the executive committee of the International Year of the Child and also chairman of the education department. And I made an observation. I said, I'll take a chance. I can't bet because I'm a preacher, but I bound you. If you find anywhere in America 25 pages devoted to positive reporting of black people, anywhere, I will give you a year's salary. But you have more history. If you have a PhD, you haven't been taught a third of the history that you got here today.
Amen.
And I don't know that. And this is what has disturbed me about blacks, especially the young black, the college young blacks. They don't read their own history. If you don't know who you are, you won't act the way you ought to. And if you can't appreciate who you are, you won't love yourself. And God and everybody else is going to have trouble out of you. And this is what's going on in our country today. Let's give the man a good hand.